Hello again, folks. So something else I want to address here is um, the roles the governments are playing in this COVID thing. Let's audit the government a little bit and let's unweave the the weaved web. So you've got the strands of government. Imagine a web, and each strand of the government's tentacles. Like public services, civil service. In Britain, the government isn't really in charge of the prison service. That's HM prisons, Her Majesty's prisons. But now we have private ones as well. So so they're definitely not getting. I think some prisoners were released, weren't they, during the COVID? Wasn't Weinstein released for a spell, like 100 days or something during the COVID? So we've got these things there that obviously private enterprise is being held in a silk glove for the mates of those in government. Like in England, it's Tesco's, Asda's. They're saying it's anywhere that sells food, but I was at the Range yesterday, and that doesn't sell food, but that's open. But the shoe shops aren't open, so you can't buy a pair of shoes, but you can buy cushions and fluffy pillows. So the thing is the like I've become very precise lately, more precise with my, pinning the tail on the donkey in different aspects of what whys and wherefores. So in this particular instance, I'm asking the question, is your government providing you with optimum opportunity for you to be minimally optimally healthy? And when I say minimally optimally healthy, what I'm saying is, are they even providing you with anything minimally to boost your optimization of being healthy? Because I think it's something like over half all adults in Britain are on prescription drugs. The rate of back problems is through the roof. Like, you basically, if you go to the NHS, which they say is publicly funded, but it's publicly funded from the taxpayers, which, or from the public purse, which is funded from the people. The governments haven't got money. They administer where money is to go. So my argument is, when the government is not even even just at that minimal level of helping you to be optimally healthy, then they're failing in their position. And now the government have, other than power equals force and velocity, which they utilize force and with velocity on you. So that's really the power what they yield, and it's not powers that you voted for. Why aren't you given specific lists? Like the British government now has got 252 policies, and that's the ruling party. So the opposition party are in total um, agreement with that, but they have about two or three policies different that vary slightly. So you're not getting represented in the ways that you can be, or if you were given, when I say given, I mean while the opportunity was there to actually make representation of your own presentations. Imagine if you were a businessman and you lost your business, as so many have here. But what they've done here in England, or in UK as they call it now, which has nothing to do with me, UK is a government deal that they made by usurping Wales in 1537 and entering into a commercial deal with Scotland in 1707, I think the Act of Union is. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm English, like me Irish. When I say me, as in like maiden name, like I'm a foreign-born Irish citizen. I'm not an Irish citizen, but I'm foreign-born. I have grandfather rights, but my father's Irish citizen. I've addressed this before. But what I'm saying is, I'm happy to be English, but I haven't got rights to be English. There is no England as far as the official status unless I want to play football. But I'm obviously the wrong colour. Probably getting on a bit now, but still run rings around most of them. Um, so I'm not, and it's the same with all. Like even if you go far as English without any Irish tinge or anything, or heritage added on, the English haven't got any English rights above anyone else. Far from it. It's the other way around. Everyone else has got rights above the English. Yeah, you can claim stuff, but of what quality it is, and that's what you're being basically the government is in charge of. So while they're not providing the service that they are being paid for, if you're at a restaurant, you'd send your food back if it wasn't up to par for what you're paying for it. Well, it's endless paying out in England, and I'm going to stick to England because that's the country I belong to. That's where the money that UK is siphoning, from for them to exist. They're not siphoning it from UK because UK is made up from different countries, and England's one of them. So there is a distinct defining, you know, in refining the definition of UK, it's England and Wales, and that's it. Scotland is not part of the UK. United Kingdom of Great Britain is United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, but that includes Scotland. So they play what is it? Uh, what's it the Americans call it? Fancy footwork. Yeah, they've got a lot of fancy footwork when it comes to definitions that they want to suit them, and no doubt. Ah, oh, licorice and peppermint. Oh, amazing. Um, the bar, the account, the solicitors. I think there's like four big companies who work for the government. The biggest one, Ferrer, Farrer, and they're the ones who are paid to sit down doing all the thinking about what laws that they're trying to hoodwink everyone, because the governments are only supposed to be there to fix roads and railways and make sure that the shipping, the ports are all not getting inundated by illegals, among other things, drugs, um, offshore accounting. These are supposed to be the things that tax revenues are paid into. They're talking about like Rishi Sunak. He's another Indian, African of Indian origin, now British, moved front of the queue, Lord Chancellor in the Treasury, worked for Goldman Sachs, and I think his father's a billionaire. He is now. What he was saying the other week was send in all your savings, basically. If all the British people send in all the savings, we boost the economy. Well, how can you boost an already dead economy? It's like, give me your negatives and we'll add them on to all the negatives. And in math, that does make a positive, but in in actuality, adding negatives onto like two wrongs don't make a right. Because I was just talking to a guy in the store there, and we were just saying about like, oh yeah, because the British pound notes has promised to pay. I promised to pay the bearer on demand the sum of. Now a bearer bond, which is what these notes are illegal. You're not allowed to issue them. So I said to him, as I say to a lot of the cashiers, because they speak to everyone, especially nowadays, because a lot of people's social interactivity is limited to going to the shops. So these people are like more so the hubs of the community. So I said to him about this promissory note, and I said, I've never met anyone who's had that promise met yet. And he said, neither have I. I said, well, it'll be a long time coming. He said, no doubt. So he said, I wonder what it actually means. I said, well, it means that you can take them, but you can't take mine. You know, which he can, which I've always said. When the storekeepers start taking actual money, the citizenry money, because the office of the bank, like nationalised bank, the Bank of England, is not above the station of a citizen. A, it has no flesh and blood. B, it has no soul. C, it's got no mind. You know, it's only a fictional entity that's stamped on a note or stamped on the front of a building. It doesn't actually exist. But you exist. You know, if you're listening to this now, if you're cognizing this, if you're accessing your conscience and saying, oh, is there a point to be made here actually? Well, you're damn right there is, because I'll tell you now, you start talking bonds and stuff, and then you start hitting into the, what is it, the golden fleece, the holy grail of what the whole establishment has been built upon, in so much as it's funded it all. You know, yeah, they've used terror and everything in the communist revolutions, but in the West, where the revolutions haven't been of the communist nature, because there was English Revolution, American Revolution, Mexican Revolution, French Revolution, you know, these weren't communist revolutions per se, in that communism wasn't the thrust of the political ideology behind the revolution at the time, or yeah, but now revolutions have become to mean generally Marxist first. Like, so what I'm saying is that, and it's funny again, sorry, just that, you know, the communist money was never counted into the capitalist system, and yet the capitalist countries have all had revolutions to become capitalist. A lot of them were not. It's quite interesting to follow the feudal line, because Germany, like some parts of Germany especially, have never known any serfdom. Other parts have never known feudalistic rule, you know, because like you've got like state cities, all these nation states, so that's all new monarchy, isn't it, since basically World War One. The idea of empire would be like city states coming together really for expansion. The idea of countries rather than, well, I guess nations, like the Kingdom of Italy, that only came about in 1860s, was it, and didn't last long. Prussia, you know, was only a tiny sort of concern, and grew into the Prussian Empire, you know, lickety split. England wasn't England until, what was it, 700s or 7th century or something like that, when Alfred, you know, made um, pacts, treaties with the other chieftain kings, like the seven kings of what became England, like Mercia, Wessex, I think it's Sussex, and, you know, a few other, Northumberland, whereas like Strathclyde and Scotland and stuff, they've been of their own concern. So it warrants some investigation into the historical makeup, you know, of how we've got to where we are. And the governments today are nothing more than bully boys, drug dealers, launderers, looters, plunderers, and you know, child sex traffickers, because, you know, they're not quick in coming forward when it comes to these types of cases. Lord Janner, Dutroux, and the whole Belgian government resigned because of the Dutroux case. Even in Spain, the king had to abdicate, like without any prejudice, because this is always the thing. Oh, blah, 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 blah. you know, let's just have a little actual objectified look at the Hitler phenomenon, the Mussolini phenomenon, the actual phenomenon in Spain with Franco and Portugal with their leader at the time, and Quisling in Norway. These people were loved. The Petain, my God, but the people wouldn't let him retire. He was 81. They were like, "You're not retiring. We love you too much." And there was a big hole for furore, wasn't he? Because Macron, who's supposed to be the French president, he, gave credit to Petain for being a war hero. Well, that sparked up all the anti-Semitism tropes then, didn't it? So he had to back down, and next thing he's in the dressing room with all the black footballers dancing and throwing champagne all over themselves. It's a total ridicule on our history, our present, and our future. Because the more and more that all of this stuff is exposed, obviously, the more and more that everyone can see who is behind all of it, why they're behind all of it, because they're all megalomaniac, sociopathic lunatics, basically, instead of sharing the wealth, sharing the health, sharing the soul food, then there's definitely questions to be asked about the people who are quick to jump up and say, well, we're the rulers, the likes of I actually don't know who's the Secretary of State for Treasury. Is it the Treasury Secretary now for America? It was that fella. He was proper weird. He was an Orthodox one of them. When they first interviewed, he was really nervous and he stuttered like mad, and he didn't get interviewed for ages, so he must have had like elocution lessons, because he really bucked up the way he spoke after that, and you could tell he's a terror. Him, you can really tell like he's not right. He's definitely been dragged from somewhere where the minds are pretty polluted when it comes to fair representation about what government is and how the people need to be represented in government. That's a good phrase, isn't it? How they need to be represented in government. Because in England, they'll have no qualms in Parliament standing up saying, oh, blah, 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 whatever. And their words has now become gospel. And it's like, hang on a minute, you, Charlie, sit back down. You don't represent me in any shape or form. I never voted for you. Even if I voted for you, I don't agree with anything that you're saying in respect of, without asking me before you're going to say it. It's all maritime rules, isn't it? It's all based on presumption and assumption. So the way that works, which is a court thing, which is adversarial, because it's supposed to be the battlefield. So it exposes that actually the parliamentary system is a battlefield, which is exactly what it is. And even worse, it's your enemy is representing not your interests. How do you gauge what your interests are until the one who's representing you, should be a man, is knocking on your door, getting your agreements, saying what it is that he's selling, not divvying up, what is it, up at the ante even. I was trying to think of what is it, materialising this stuff, like. Because I was talking to a friend there the other day, and we were saying about how in speech therapy, when it comes to thoughts, they don't understand. The science has no understanding of where thoughts come from. And that exposes materialism because the whole idea of materialism, and it exposes further communism when I get into it, because materialism is, tangibility, something that's tangible. Even something intangible can be tangible. It depends on your presentation of it, a representation of it. So, for example, thoughts in communism, a thought is classed as a thing, and the word thing is a thing of itself. So that intangible thing, because you can't manifest a thought in its inception. Do you know what I mean? You can't give, like, you can explain or draw, or you can represent how the thought manifested. How you came to think of that thought, or it's like, even if just a thought just popped into your head that was unrelated to anything that you were even thinking about. So the thing is, in communism, it goes in the inventory as part of what the state owns. In socialism, it doesn't. It become, it's private rights are recognized in socialism, non-Marxist socialism. So the thing is like, because in communism now your idea has become a tangible, so your tangible thing is recognized as belonging to the state. And this is why you can never have original thought in communism. It's all dictated from top down. Whereas in free enterprise, when, actual, like, let's say socialism, like in socialism, and obviously the preferred socialism would be the socialism that pertains to your expression, your kind, your likeness. Let's say that in essence has to come from your racial trait, because in essence, which is the essentials, it will. You won't get someone elsewhere randomly beginning to live in the cultivated way that another culture is cultivated without them being exposed to it. You may get random events within cultures, but overarchingly, cultural expression, cultural creativity, the innate expression of, necessity of survival in the geographical sense, necessity of survival when it comes to, luxury, size of requirements for family, your needs. Some people will have access to fish or wood, or planes or whatever. So if you live in the Antarctica, like sorry, in the Arctic Circle, like, let's say the Inuit people, like the way they live, they have access to a lot of fish, so they're not going to be breeding cows, are they? People in Saudi Arabia who have all the Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and they come from, like, different. They're not going to start um, breeding. Well, they can't breed seals, can they, or hunt killer whales? It's just not. It doesn't make any sense. You'd be dead, wouldn't you, within a couple of weeks, if you're gonna ardently stick to your pursuit of hunting killer whales in Saudi Arabia. You're not gonna last very long. So it's obviously racially motivated when it comes to your geographical position, and races of obviously occur in the geographical homes. It's like, it's a no-brainer. So you've got people like, who's that Robert, let's call him Robert Arsehole, the Antifa think tank at Oxford University. I think it's Brookes College. So he's saying that, the elements of fascism is all great and everything because it offers massive hope to the country, to the nation. And then it goes on about like, let's hope that we can stop that. So what is it that they're trying to bring in as the alternative? I don't understand what he's trying to bring in as the alternative for the direction of is the people heading? Should be working towards greatness, magnanimous pursuits, all sorts of wondrous things can be got. What have we got? We've got a bunch of a-holes claiming to represent us and own our stock and own the money supply that we're only allowed to use and run things deliberately mismanaged and mismatched with the needs of the people. And you could go on, couldn't you? But the thing is, it's like it's the question of posterity. Where is it leading for the generations to come? Should there be generations to come? I mean, I believe that, in full fairness, the generations to come have every right to have governments fully supportive, promoting and encouraging, racial purity among families within geographical boundaries. Certainly, so-called radical governments, like let's say China. So China has not got much opportunity to bring in multiculturalism as it stands. India certainly hasn't. Russia has. That's probably more open to the opportunities to multiculturalism. Like for Moscow has got the largest mosque in anywhere. Is it Russia or something? So it's Moscow. Well, so there's one example of how a European capital has been, multiculturalized as London has. And this is what the thing when all of the minorities are cajoled into saying that, oh, we have these rights as minorities and this, that, and the other. Well, you don't get the mayor of London a minority. When you say minorities, from Pakistan, which has 190 million people. So I don't know how they work out that the minorities. They might be minority groups, but it only serves to suggest that they're actually in the throes of some sort of allied takeover. If Pakistan's got 190 million people in their country, where's the multiculturalism in their country? Where's the multiculturalism in Mali, South Africa, Chile? Where's that multiculturalism? Because that's like, is it whites make up 5% of the populace in Chile now, I think. So 5%, I'm just assuming it's 5%, certainly not high anyway. Or Brazil, even if Brazil it was 40%, so that's 60% minorities. Can you see how that math works? 40% is majority, 60% is minority. So if I had a big lump of rock and I hit it, cut it into 40% and 60%, and I'm going to hit you with the minority one, you're going to choose to be hit with the minority one before the majority one. And this is the crazy topsy-turvy inside out, upside down, wrong way round, back to front world that we're being governed by, isn't it? You know, we couldn't have an ancient Greece, an ancient Egypt, an ancient Mesopotamia, hanging gardens of Babylon. You know, we couldn't have these beautiful scenarios. Like I was just thinking there about Saddam Hussein. So I've got a theory I'm working on, and I'll explain it, because I reckon that Eve belonged to them, not the Iraqis, but to the other ones near Iraq. Eve belonged to them. Adam was a European or Aryan, right? Because he is Adam. Who'd think of calling him that? Right. So I think that was the racial purity broken in Genesis. That was the inception. And that's why when you open up the King James version, when you open that up, the first thing you see is 3 Hebrew letters, which is supposed to stand for Jehovah or God, whatever. So so the relationship that I found is that the Book of Esther and Adam and Eve, because the Book of Esther was about getting the woman involved in the politics. So she got the Prime Minister, who was Aryan, to go, you know, he was resisting that she was coming in as foreign. And the king married her because, you know, she was a bit of a sort or whatever. She's probably wearing a veil, so we couldn't, just like a bit of a veil. So, yeah, and the master's with the drugs as well, so she's probably, you know, had the, giving it all out, like with the belly dance and stuff, whatever she was doing then. Anyway, the Prime Minister has been head chopped off. This is the Book of Esther. You can see some divvy cartoon about it, like 5 minutes long, gives you the background. But basically, it's part of the Torah or whatever. And Torah, obviously pronounced Terah in Hebrew. So the Genesis and the Book of Esther. So Esther is in the area of Persia, Iran, Iraq, maybe Afghanistan as well, and all around that area, whatever, Persia, the Persian Empire. Right, but they were all European, or they were Aryan at least, because, you know, so the Aryan representation has been diluted, which seems to correspond to Genesis, but Genesis must have happened probably in a different geographical place, you know, the Garden of Eden, whereas the Book of Esther has happened in Thingy. So now, currently, Iraq has no leader. So even the king now, because of the Book of Esther, you know, the prophecy